Okay guys, so many of you have been asking me to do a predicted paper solution for AQA. So this is a foundation paper free for the foundation tier of course, and this has been compiled by MathsWatch. Okay, so I'm going to start from the back and then work our way to the front. So what do we have? We have a right angle triangle here, and we are told that we need to use trigonometry to work out the size of the angle X. So the angle that we want to find is right there. So in a nice way, we've been told that we have to use trigonometry, which is simply SOHCAHTOA. So if we label our triangle, so the hypotenuse is always the longest side and it's opposite the right angle right there. Okay, it's this side. So we're going to call this hype. And what is the side that is next to the angle? It is this side. This is next to the angle and we call that the adjacent side. So this is edge. And the side that is on the other end, which is our opposite, because it's opposite the angle, okay, is that. So we've labeled our triangle. Now, of course, we are going to be working with the hypotenuse and the opposite. Okay, so which one here uses hypotenuse and opposite? You could see that sine, the SOH, uses hypotenuse and opposite. So we're going to write down sine theta is equal to opposite divided by hypotenuse. And then if we just fill in our values, so what is our value for opposite? Opposite is right there. It's going to be 13. And our value for hypotenuse is 22. So we can write down sine, and we can also replace the theta here with what we're looking for, our letter here. So x, that's equal to opposite, which is 13, like we said, divided by 22. Now we are finding an angle, so we need to do the inverse operation. Okay, so that's going to be x is equal to the inverse of sine. So sine inverse, and then in the bracket goes 13 over 22. Now we just put this into our calculator and we get the answer 36. I'm going to round this to one decimal place, 36.2 degrees to one decimal place. Okay, so moving on to question number 28. We have a sequence and we are told that the nth term of this sequence is 12n minus 5. And we have to work out the numbers in the sequence that have 2 digits and is not, these numbers are not prime numbers. Okay, your final line must say not prime and list only the numbers that are not prime. Now, of course, in an exam, you won't be getting this. Okay, this is just from MathsWatch. They just put that there to give you a hint. All right, so where do we begin? Well, let's look at our sequence here and let's generate some numbers. And what we are going to be looking for is numbers that have 2 digits and not a prime number. Now, quick reminder, what is a prime number? A prime number is a number that only has 2 factors. So the first prime number is 2, then we have 3, 5, 7, 11, so on and so forth. Okay, so we are looking for a number or numbers which are not these numbers, the prime numbers. Okay, these are our prime numbers. So let's begin by generating numbers of our sequence. So the first number for n would be 1. So we're going to put 1 in there. So we're going to get 12 times by 1, which is 12, and then take away 5. So 12 take away 5 is 7. Now, of course, we can't have 7 because 7 is a prime number. So we go on to the next number in our sequence, which will be 2. So we're going to, well, it's not 2, but the second term. Okay, so 12 times by n, which is 2. So 12 times 2 is 24, and we take away 5. And 24 take away 5 is 19. So 19 is our number. But once again, 19 is also a prime number. Okay, bear that in mind. So we can't have 19 either. Now, we also can't have 7, by the way, I should mention. It's because 7 doesn't have 2 digits. And we want to have numbers in the sequence that have 2 digits as well. Okay, so bear that in mind. So 31, we have next when we put 3 in there. So 12 times 3 is 36, take away 5 is 31. And then I'm going to put 4 in there. So 12 times 4 is 48, take away 5 is 43. Okay, and we can keep doing that. So the next one will be 55, then 67, 79, 91, and then we get 103. Now we also don't need 103 either, because 103 is 3 digits and we are looking for 2-digit numbers. So what we are looking for, 2-digit numbers in that space, and they cannot be prime numbers either. So 19 is a prime number, so we can't have that. 31 is a prime number, we can't have that. 43 is a prime number, we can't have that. We can have 55. 67 is a prime number as well, we can't have that. 79 we can't have, is a prime number, and we can have 91. So there's 2 numbers that we are looking for that have 2 digits and not a prime number are 55 and 91. Question 27. Here are 2 sets of numbers, A and B. In set A, we have 281, 268, 225, 290, and set B, we have 392, 512, 413, 422, and Y. The mean of set A to the mean of set B is in the ratio 7 to 12. Work out the value of Y. So the mean, we want to calculate the mean of all these numbers. So that's going to be 281 plus 268 plus 225 plus 290 divided by 4. And we are going to do the same for that as well. Okay, so to calculate the mean of set A, we are going to do 281, 268, 225 plus 290, divide that by 4. Let's go ahead and work that out. 266 is the mean of A. Let's go ahead and do the same thing for set B. So set B, the mean, and that's going to be 392 plus 512 plus 413 plus 422 plus Y. We can just fit that in here like that. So that's going to be divided by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 numbers this time. So let's add up the numbers. So that gives us Y plus the numbers, which is 1739 over 5. And we can't obviously work out the value for a mean because we have that Y in there. So in that ratio, what we can now do is we can write 266 to the ratio of Y plus 1739 over 5, and that is 7 to 12. Now, we've got this, right? We are told that this mean is represented by 7 shares or 7 parts of our ratio. And the set B's mean is represented by 12. So using proportion, why don't we find out what 1 part represents using these 2? So once we know what 1 part represents, we can multiply it by 12 to give us what 12 parts represents, which will give us the mean of that. So let's go ahead and do that. So 266 divided by 7 would represent what 1 part is, which is 38. And then 38 times by 12 will tell us what the mean of set B should be. And that should be 456. So this is set B's mean. Now, this means that all of that is actually equal to 456. So let's work on that. So Y plus 1739 over 5 is equal to 456. So let's go ahead and find Y. Let me just write that 3 nicely so you can see it. Still not nice, but hopefully you understand what I'm doing. So I'm going to multiply by 5 here, up there, okay? And then I'm going to make that equal to that, okay? So what's 5 times 456? That's 2,280. So I'm going to have Y plus 1739 is equal to 2,280. I've just got rid of that 5, okay, by multiplying there. All right? Now I'm going to take away the 1739 from this side, and so I can have Y on its own. So therefore Y is going to be equal to 2,280 minus 1739, which is 541. And that's your value for Y. Question 26. On the left is a quadratic graph, which is the x-coordinate of the turning point of the graph. So what is a turning point? A turning point is when the graph actually turns, all right? I mean, of course, at A-level, you study what that means in more detail, but you don't need to worry about it for GCSE here. So the turning point is right there. Okay, we want to know what the x-coordinate is. Well, that's simple. Find that point and read up. And the x-coordinate seems to be 1. So the x-coordinate is 1. So C. Question 25. In 1 hour, a machine can make 500 nuts or 840 bolts. At 2 p.m., the machine starts working. It makes 750 nuts and then changes to making bolts. How many bolts will the machine make by 8 p.m.? So it starts at 2, starts making nuts, makes 750 of them, and then it starts to make bolts. So where do we begin with this? Well, let's find out how much time was taken to make 750 nuts. We know that it can make 500 nuts, so we are going to do 750 divided by 5. So that's 500 nuts in 1 hour, by the way, yeah? That's what the question says. So, we're going to do 750 divided by 500. I stopped at 5 to explain that. So what is 750 divided by 500? So 750 divided by 500 gives us 1.5. So that's 1.5 hours. So the machine takes 1.5 hours, which takes us to 3:30 p.m. to make 750 nuts. Okay. So how much time is remaining to get to 8 o'clock? Hopefully the machine don't take any breaks like humans need to. So let's work that out. So 3:30 to 8 p.m. that is 4.5 hours. So 4.5 hours left. Okay, and in that time it can make just bolts. Now remember, it makes 840 bolts per hour. All right. So how do we work out how many bolts it can make? Well, that's simple. We're going to do 840 times by 4.5. So 840 times by 4.5, that gives us 3,780. So that's how many bolts it can make. Question 24. Here is a formula. T is equal to n squared minus 14 over n. Work out T when n is equal to 7. So what we need to do is substitute the value of n equals 7 into here and here. Let's go ahead and do that. So T is equal to 7 squared minus 14 over 7. 7 squared is 49 and 14 over 7 is 2. So 49 take away 2 is 47. So that's the answer for part A. Part B, when n is negative, minus 14 over n is always A, always negative, B, sometimes negative, C, always positive, D, sometimes positive. Right, so let's go ahead and investigate a little bit here. Let's sub in the negative value right here, okay? What happens if you put a negative value for n in here? A negative and a negative will give you a positive, right? So therefore, it's always going to be positive. So that is our answer there. Let me just do it there. Okay? So part C, when n is negative, T is equal to n squared minus 14 over n. Is this always negative, sometimes negative, always positive, or sometimes positive? So let's go ahead and look at what happens when you put a negative in there. Well, you're squaring this part, right? So whenever you do a negative squared, so let me just give you an example of this. If you do any number which is negative, so let's say negative 3, and you square it, it's simply minus 3 times minus 3. And the two negatives, when you multiply, becomes a positive. So it's a positive 9. 3 times 3 is 9, okay? And it happens with every single number. So this part of it will give us a positive value. What about here? What happens here when I put a negative in there? Well, you see this negative and that negative is going to do the same thing that it did up here. It's going to give us a positive value overall. So from here, you're also going to get a positive. So you're essentially getting a positive and a positive, which is positive. So the answer is always positive once again. Question 23. Here is a rule for a sequence. After the first two terms, each term is half of the sum of the previous two terms. Here is the sequence that follows this rule. Write down the next three terms. So the question says after the first two terms, so the first two terms here, the next term is half of adding these two up. That's what sum means, right? So if we do 2 plus 22, what do we get? 24. And then you half that, which is 12. So you're going to do that again to find the next three terms. So let's go ahead and write that down. So to find what goes here now, we are going to do what? We're going to add these two up and then divide it by 2. So that would be 22 plus 12 divided by 2, which is 17. Oops, 17. And now to find the next one, because we need to find three terms after that, we are going to do what? We are going to add those two up and then divide those by 2. So 17 plus 12, which is 29, divided by 2. And now we start to get fractions, so 14.5. Now to find the third term in our three terms, we're going to add these two up. So 14.5 plus 17, and then divide those by 2. We'll divide the answer by 2, and that gives us 15.75. So these are our three terms. Part B, a different sequence follows the same rules. The first term is 5. The third term is 10.5. So it's the same rule once again. So you add the first two terms and half it, okay, or divide by 2. So it says fill in the value for the second term. Now, you could do this in your head, right? But there are 3 marks, so lots of working out to show and gain marks from, okay? Now we are told that the first term is 5 and the third term is 10.5, which is there and there. So what would have to go here? Well, it's something you added the 5 with and then divided by 2. Now, what if I call this x, which is unknown? I don't know what it is, right? So I'm going to write that down. 5, add x, and then I divided it by 2 to give me that term, which is 10.5. So I'm going to work backwards to find what x is. I want to times over here and then take the 5 away, and then I'll have x on its own. So 10.5 times by 2 is 21, so I get 5 plus x is equal to 21. And then to find what x is, my number in the middle, I'm going to do 21 take away 5, and that is 16. So the value here is 16. Question 22. K is equal to n squared plus 9n plus 1. Terry says k will be a prime number for all integer values of n from 1 to 9. Show that Terry is wrong. Okay, so Terry is saying that k will be a prime number, whatever value of n you put in from 1 to 9. So if you put a 1 in here and in here, Terry is saying that it will give a prime number. Okay, all you have to do is show that he's wrong by putting a value of n between 1 to 9 that doesn't give a prime number. Okay, so let me show you. If you put a 3 in, so if you do 3 squared plus 9 times 3 plus 1, that gives us, and you can work this out, so that gives us 9 plus 27. 9, oh, and the 1, we forgot to add the 1, plus the 1. So 9 plus 27 plus 1 gives us 37. And 37 is a prime number. We just have to show that he's wrong by putting a number in there that doesn't give a prime number. All right. Now, if we try 6, so let's put 6 in here now. So 6 will go here and here. So 6 squared plus 9 times 6 plus 1. So 6 squared is 36. 9 times 6 is 54 plus the 1. So 36 plus 54 plus 1, and that gives us 91. Now 91 is not a prime number because you can divide 91 by 7, which gives you 13, and therefore not a prime. And that's why Terry is wrong. Question 21. A forest has 5,040 trees. The trees are beech or maple. The number of beech trees ratio to the number of maple ratio, the number of beech to the number of maple is in the ratio 3.2 to 1. What fraction of the trees are beech? Give your answer in its simplest form. Right, so if we add up the fractions here, So if you do 3.2 plus 1, we get 21 over 5, or 4.2. So let's stick to the fraction, 21 over 5. So we want to make this into whole numbers. How do we do that? We times by 5. Just times by 5. And that gives us 21. So now, each of these we also times by 5, so we can get them into whole numbers. So 3.2 times by 5 gives us 16, and 1 times by 5 is 5. So the fraction of the trees that are beech, so beech is here, is represented by the 3.2 and now the 16. So it's going to be 16 out of the total, which is 21. And that's the fraction. Simplest form, 16 over 21 is its simplest form because you can't divide by a number to reduce this. Part B, write number of beech to the number of maple in the form 1 to n. So what it wants you to do here is currently 16 to 5, right? It wants you to make this into a 1. How do you do that? By dividing by 16. It doesn't matter what happens when you divide the other side by 16 and what number you get, okay? You just got to make sure the 16 becomes a 1. So 5 divided by 16 on a calculator gives us a decimal value of 0.3125. So what we can do here is write 1 dot dot and then 0.3125, essentially just copying down what we wrote, but it's there. Question 20. Sue leaves home at 7 o'clock and runs for 2 hours. Here is a distance time graph of her run. How far from home is she after 2 hours? Sounds like Spider-Man, Far From Home. That's a rubbish joke, but it's a good film though, still. Anyway, how far from home is she after 2 hours? So let's work that out. After 2 hours, that's 7 o'clock to 9 o'clock. How far is she? She's right there. Well, that's simple. Just read that off. So 15. So 15 kilometers away from home. For the next hour, she rests and then she gets a bus home. She arrives home at 11:30. So for the next hour, she's resting, which means she's not going any further away from her home. She's just sitting wherever she is. Okay. So that would be a flat line for 1 hour from 9 to 10 o'clock. All right. So let's draw that flat line in here. Like that. Okay, a bit higher than that. So it's on the line. There you go. All right, now, then she gets a bus. So after resting for 1 hour, which is done now, so it's 10 o'clock. As you can see, it's 10 o'clock. She gets a bus home and she arrives home, which is going to be where? Home is going to be down here again because it's back to base, back to being 0. All right, so that's going to be at 11:30. So 11:30 is right there, so we can draw a line right there, and there she is, home. So I've completed my distance time graph, assuming that the bus is traveling at a constant speed, which means that this line can be straight like that. Done. Question 19. The table shows the number of films watched 1 week by 40 people. Write down the modal number of films watched. The modal is simply the highest frequency. So you can see clearly the highest frequency here is 12. So the modal will be 1. So 1 film is the most amount of films watched as a mode. Work out the mean number of films watched per person. So mean, how do we calculate that? Well, we need an fx column for the mean, an fx column. And what we do in the fx column is we simply multiply these two together. So 0 times by 7, 1 times by 12, 2 times by 10, so on and so forth. So 0 times by 7 is 0, 1 times by 12 is 12, 2 times by 10 is 20, 3 times by 8 is 24, and 3 times by 4 is 12. And then we want to add all of this up to give us the sum of the fx. That's 0 plus 12 plus 20 plus 24 plus 12. That gives us a total of 68. So to calculate the mean now, so mean is equal to 68 divided by the frequency total, which is right there, 40. Okay, if it wasn't given to us, no problem, we would have just added this up and that would have given it to us. So 68 divided by 40, and 68 divided by 40 gives us 1.7. So the mean is 1.7. Question 18. Here is a map of Portugal. 1.5 centimeter represents 300 kilometers. Work out the actual distance between Braga and Albufeira. I hope I pronounced that correctly. The only thing I know about Portugal is CR7. Sui. Anyhow, dead joke, I know. You're probably laughing right now. Anyhow, where are we? So work out the actual distance between Braga and Albufeira in kilometers. Now, all you got to do, guys, is get a ruler and measure this. All right. Now, obviously, I can't show you this because you can't see when I put a ruler against this. So measure this, and whatever you get in centimeters on your ruler, you know that 1.5 centimeters represents 300 kilometers. So let's say, for example, I don't know, you get 3 centimeters. All right. So you've measured this and it's 3 centimeters on your exam paper. You do, first of all, 3 divided by 1.5 because you're told that every 1.5 centimeters is 300 kilometers. And then you will multiply by the 300. So 3 divided by 1.5 gives us 2. I should have known that. And then 2 times by 300 gives us 600. So 600 kilometers. Question 17. Radha drives her car for work. She claims 43p per mile from her employer. Radha's car travels 55 miles for each gallon of petrol. She pays £5.40 per gallon for petrol. On one journey, Radha drives 341 miles. For this journey, how much more does she claim than she pays for petrol? So, where do we begin with this question? Well, let's highlight some key points. We are told that she claims 43p per mile. Her car travels 55 miles for each gallon, so it's 55 miles per gallon. She pays £5.40 per gallon for the fuel. On one journey, she drives 341 miles. So let's start with that. 341 miles is what she travels. We are going to divide this by 55 to find out how many gallons of petrol she needs. So 341 divided by 55, that gives us 6.2 gallons. Okay, so that's how much petrol is used. Now, she pays how much? £5.40 per gallon. So we're going to do 6.2 times by £5.40. So £5.40, that gives us £33.48. So that's how much it will cost her to go and drive for 341 miles. Now, she gets 43p per mile from her employer and she drives 341 miles. So we can work with that now. So 341 times by 43, we're going to multiply here. So this will tell us how much she should get in pennies from her employer for the distance that she's traveled. So 341 times by 43, that gives us in pennies 14663 in pennies. We're going to divide that by 100 to get it into pounds, and that is 146 pounds and 63 pence. So now all we have to do is find out how much more she claims than she actually pays for her petrol. So her claims would be £146 and 63 pence, take away £33 and 48, and that is £113 and 15 pence more. Question 16. The table shows the cost of hiring a concrete mixer for up to 5 days. The cost of hiring the concrete mixer is made up of a fixed charge and a daily charge. How much is this daily charge? Now, we can do this algebraically, but there's a simpler way to do this, which is to find out the differences between each one of these. Okay, so if you're going from 1 day to 2 days to 3 days to 4 days, what is the difference? And if you do 32, take away 19, you'll find that you get £13. So £13 is the constant difference between each day. So therefore the daily charge will be £13. Now if £13 is the daily charge and for 1 day you're being charged £19, how do you find what the fixed charge is? All you have to do is 19 take away 13, so 19 take away 13, and that gives you £6. So £6 is your fixed charge. Question 15. Convert 3,738 gallons into cubic meters. And it's given us the conversion up there. So 1 cubic foot is equal to 6.23 gallons. So how does foot become gallons? So how does 1 become 6.23? You just multiply by 6.23. So to go from foot to gallons, you multiply by 6.23. And if you look at the second one, we can do something similar. How does foot become cubic meters? Well, 1, how do you get it to become 0.028? Well, you multiply that by 0.028 as well. So we want to convert gallons into cubic meters. So how am I going to answer this question? Well, first of all, I'm going to go from gallons backwards to cubic foot by doing the opposite of this, which is to divide by 6.23. And then once I've got cubic foot, I'm going to multiply by 0.028 to get it into cubic meters. So let's go ahead and do that. So 3738 divided by 6.23. Let's put that into our calculator. 3738 divided by 6.23. That gives us 600. So now we are in 600 cubic foot. Now, this cubic foot will go into cubic meters. So we're going to do 600 times by 0.028, and that gives us 16.8 cubic meters. Question 14. A car travels 4.5 miles in 5 minutes. Work out the average speed in miles per hour. Now, first of all, let me just write down the formula for speed. Average speed is equal to distance divided by time. Now the time we are working out in miles per hour, remember the speed. So we need to make this 5 minutes into hours. How do we convert minutes into hours? We divide by 60. So 5 divided by 60. So 5 divided by 60 gives us 1 over 12. We're going to keep our answer like that. And then we're going to do speed is equal to 4.5 miles, which is our distance, divided by 1 over 12. Now I've kept it as 1 over 12. Some of you may do this on your calculator and you might see 0.08 and 3 recurring. Please make sure you keep as many of those 3 as possible. It's better to use the recurring button if you do that, but even better than that is to keep it in fractions, all right? So 4.5 divided by, and I'm going to press the fraction button, 1 over 12. That gives me 54 miles per hour. Question 13. A takeaway sells 10-inch pizzas and 12-inch pizzas. Here is some information about the number of pizzas sold in 2 weeks. All right, so week 1 is given us a table and it's told us that it made a profit of £1,690 and 36 pence. And then week 2, we are given this frequency diagram. So what are we told here? How much more profit was made in week 2 compared with week 1? That's our question. So let's work out the profit then. So in week 2, we sold 10-inch pizzas, 765 of them, and 12-inch pizzas, 311 of them. The total of these two is 1,076. So that's what that is. So this here is broken up individually as 10 and 12-inch pizzas as those two values. And then we have this branch here which says normal and offer, and normal and offer here as well. So this refers to the normal price on this table here and the offer price here. Okay, and we're told that when you sell at a normal price, you make this much profit, and when you make an offer price, you make this much loss, and that's for 10-inch and the 12 inches. Okay, so let's go ahead and calculate everything. So we sold 765 of the pizzas. We need to find what would be, how many of those were normal sold, okay? Sold normally on the normal price. So to do that, all we have to do, so to find this value right here, we'll just do 765, take away how many you sold on offer, which was 358, and that will tell us how many was sold normally. So 765 take away 358, that gives us 407. So that's going to be here 407 were normal price. Now I've completed my frequency diagram. So now let's go ahead and work out week two's profits. Okay, so how many normal 10-inch pieces do I have? I have 407 normal ones. So 407, that made me a profit of £3.72. So times by £3.72, work that out. So 407 times by £3.72, that is £1,514.04. And on offer, I had 358 times by losses of 49p. Now that 49p, because I'm working in pounds, I'm going to do 0.49. Okay, I'm going to do a negative as well to show that it's a loss. So 358 times by 0.49, and that is a loss of 175.42. So that's all the 10-inch pieces. Let's just draw a line underneath that. And now let's do the 12-inch pieces. So the 12-inch pieces, we had 311 of them sold. Out of those, normal price was 169 and offer was 142. So normal 169 made us a profit of £5.26. So that's going to be 169 times by £5.26. Let's work that out. That is £888.94. Now let's work out the offer, which is going to be a 4p loss. It tells us right there. So that's going to be how many of them? 142 were sold. So 142 times by 0.04. So that's again 4p in pound mode. Okay, that's going to be a negative sign as well to indicate that it's a loss. So 142 times by 0.04, that is £5.68. Not bad. Okay, now all we have to do is just tally this up. So we're going to add that, take away this, add that, and take away that. All right, so go ahead and do that. So that's a total for week two of £2,221.88. Now, in week one, we made a profit of £1,690.36. In week two, we made a profit of £2,221.88. So to work out how much more profit was made in week two, we just take them away. So we're going to do £2,221.88, take away £1,690.36, and that gives us, don't know why I'm putting an equal sign here, but you understand what I'm doing. That gives us £531.52. So that's your final answer. So £531.52 was more profit made in week two. Question 12. How many minutes is 255 seconds? So let's work this out. Minutes. So in 1 minute, there are 60 seconds. So we want to go from seconds to minutes, right? So just like we did earlier with one of the questions, how do we go from 60 to 1? We divide by 60. So it's going to be 255 divided by 60, and 255 divided by 60 on your calculators should give you 4.25, which is the same as 4 1/4. Question 11. A bottle contains 1.6 liters of water. 750 milliliters of the water is poured into a jug. How much water is left in the bottle? State the units of your answer. All right. So in 1.6 liters, what is the amount in milliliters? So we know that in 1 liter, you have 1,000 milliliters. So therefore, 1.6 liters is going to contain 1,600 milliliters. So if you pour 750 milliliters of the water into a jug, how much do you have left? So you've got 1,600, take away 750, that gives you 850 milliliters left. So 850 ml. Question 10. Complete the number machine. So A went into here, something happened, and then it went into here, and then it was multiplied by 6, and then it gave all of that. So the first thing we're going to do is work backwards, and then we're going to see what would have happened in here. So what's the opposite operation of multiplying by 6? It's divide by 6. So let's divide all of this by 6. So if you divide this by 6, that gives you 6a over 6 is just a. And if you do 18 divided by 6, it gives you 3. So you have a plus 3. So that means in here, you must have added 3, because a would have gone in here, add 3, and then gone in here, times by 6, and then gave you all of that. So plus 3 is your answer here. B, write down the output in this number machine. So a goes in here, so you times by 4. So let's write that down. Times by 4 is simply writing 4a, and then you minus 3. So 4a minus 3. 4a minus 3. Question 9. Here is a scale drawing. The Ferris wheel has a height of 134 meters. Work out the height of the building. Ignore that where it says don't use a calculator. It's a calculator paper, so I don't know why that is there. All right. So we have the Ferris wheel right here, and we have what looks like the Burj Al Khalifa right there. And if you were to measure this, it's saying that the Ferris wheel would measure, or with your ruler, 0.65 centimeters, sorry. And if you were to measure this, it would measure 3.25 centimeters. Now, the actual height of the Ferris wheel is given as 134 meters. So we know that this 134 meters is represented on our paper, on our page, using our ruler, as 0.65 centimeters. So if the Burj Al Khalifa, or this building, we don't know the height of this, that's what we're trying to work out here, we'll call it x, we are told that on paper it is 3.25 centimeters. What is this height going to be? Well, we can do this in one of two ways. And I'll go over the simple one here, because this is question 9 on a foundation paper, so I'll go over the more simple explanation. And that is, we look at the height of this and the height of that, and then we wonder how many of these will fit in here. Okay, so the best way to do that is to do 3.25 divided by 0.65. So 3.25 divided by 0.65, and the answer is 5. So that means 5 lots of 0.65s will go into 3.25. And if 0.65 is representing 134, that means the height of the building can be found by doing 134 times by 5. So 5 times by 134 gives us 670. So the height of this building is 670 meters. Question 8. Part A, it says rearrange m is equal to p plus 3 and make p the subject. So to make p the subject, you're going to take this plus 3 away from that side and put it on this side. It's a plus 3 here, so on the other side it's going to change its sign. So it's going to be minus. So it's going to give you m minus 3 equal to p, and there you have your answer. You can also write it as p is equal to m minus 3 as well. Part B, simplify 7x squared minus 1x squared. Well, that's simply just taking away 7 and 1, which is right there. You don't need to write this in algebra, that's why it's not there, but there's a 1 there. So 7x squared take away 1x squared is 6x squared. Question 7. Sue wants to buy 10 rolls of wallpaper. She sees these prices. What's the cheapest price for 10 rolls? So let's go ahead and work this out. Let's work out these deals. So if you buy, let's look at this, the most obvious one, because you only need to buy 2 of those to give you 10 rolls. What would that be though? So the price of that for 10 rolls, so let's write 10 rolls up here, would be 5 times by £42.85. So 5 times by £42.85 gives us £214.25. Next, we look at this deal right there, which is a pack of 3 rolls. Now, if we want to buy 10 rolls, it means we have to buy 3 lots of those. So 3 plus 3 plus 3. Now we only have 9. So that means we must buy, even though we only need 1 more roll to make 10, we must buy another roll, which is 4 packs. So that one will be 4 times by this amount of £25.38. So it's going to be 4 times by £25.38, and that gives us £101.52. So we still save money based on buying a pack of 5 rolls. And if we were to buy single rolls, so 1 roll at £9.21 each, so that's going to be times that by 10. We don't even need to do that on a calculator because we can work this out in our head. Just times it by 10, so it's going to be £92.10. Now, what is the cheapest deal? Well, clearly from the working out that we've done so far, it's evident that it's cheaper to buy the single rolls. So what's the point of having these multi-packs? Well, what we fail to do is look for an even better deal. And what is that? Well, you see, this answer that we had here, where we bought 4 packs of it, well, we only needed this free pack, and then we ended up having to buy another pack, right? But what we could have done is bought only 3 packs and not the 4th one, and then just bought 1 single roll, because that's how many we needed just to make 10, right? So we're going to explore that one now. So we're going to do 3 times our £25.38, because 3 rolls is worth £25.38. And then what we're going to do is add on an extra roll at £9.21 instead, right? So we're going to add that on. So £9.21. And let's see if that gives us an even better deal. So 3 times by £25.38 plus £9.21, that gives us a better deal of £85.35. So that is the best. Question 6. Here are 2 groups of numbers A and B. One number is moved from A to B. The sum of the numbers in B is now 20 less than the sum of the numbers in A. Which number is moved? So if we add up everything in group A currently, what do we get? So 23 plus 17 plus 25 plus 24 plus 29 plus 6. So currently it's 124 in there, and let's do the same for group B. So 15 plus 12 plus 18 plus 11, and that gives us 56. So now one of the numbers is moved from A to B, and the sum of the numbers in B is now 20 less only. So currently how many less is it? So let's work that out. So 124 minus 56, 124 minus 56 gives us 68, right? So currently 68 is the difference between group A and group B. What we need to do is move a number from group A into B now, right? We need to move a number in there. That makes this difference into just 20. So you have to take away 48 from here to give you 20 as a difference. So one of these numbers has to be lost from group A and gained in group B. Now remember, this number has to be representing or somehow represent 48. Now this number is 24, because if 24 it goes into B, then it would be lost from this 124 but gained by this. So 24 will be lost here, so that will now become 100, and it will be gained here, 24. So 56 plus by 24 is now 80. And now if you look at the difference between 100 and 80, well, that is 20. All right, so the number that is moved is 24. Now, part B. After the number is moved, what is the sum of the numbers in B? Well, we've just done that. It's 80. Part C. If a pen and a pencil cost £1.10p for both, and the pen costs £1 more than the pencil, what's the cost of the pen? So it's not correct to say that the pencil is 10p and the pen is £1, because yes, when they add up, they do give £1.10p, but the difference between them is only 90p. However, if you say that the pen costs £1.5p and the pencil costs 5p, when you add these two up, you get £1.10p, and if you look at the difference between those two, the difference is £1. So the cost of the pen is £1.05. Question 5. Felix wants to go to all 19 home games at a football club. For each game, a ticket costs £29, a season ticket costs £381 and gives entry to all 19 home games. In total, how much does Felix save by buying a season ticket? So let's work out the cost of 19 tickets at £29 each first. So 29 times by 19. So that gives us £551. And if you buy a season ticket, it's only £381. So if you find the difference between that, so if you do 551 minus 381, that gives us £170. So that's how much you can save, £170. Question 4, change the following to centimeters. So kilometers into centimeters. We know that in 1 kilometer there are 1,000 meters, and in 1 meter there is 100 centimeters. So if you want to go from kilometers into centimeters, you must first go into meters by multiplying by 1,000, and then from meters to centimeters by multiplying by 100. Okay, so 0.15 we times by 1,000 first, and then we times that by 100, and that will give us our answer. So the answer is that 0.15 kilometers is equal to 15,000 centimeters. Now we want to convert millimeters into centimeters. Now we know that in 1 centimeter we have 10 millimeters. So to go from centimeters to millimeters, we times by 10. So therefore, to go from millimeters to centimeters, as we want to do in this question, we are going to divide by 10. So 730 divided by 10, which is 73. So 73 centimeters is 730 millimeters. Question 3. How many lines of symmetry does each of the shapes have? So a line of symmetry is simply to draw a line in the middle like that, and each side has to reflect the other side. So there's one there that I've just done for you. Another one that you have is going across like that. Okay, so it's got 2 lines of symmetry. The next one, we have a triangle. We can draw a line right there. So this has 1 line of symmetry. Now a parallelogram, you can't do this because look, if you do that, then this side isn't the same as that side. They are not symmetrical, all right? So you can't do it there. And you can't do it there either because this side is not symmetrical to that side. Okay, so you have 0. Question 2. On a circle, which of these is the longest? Radius, diameter, chord, or circumference? Well, let's quickly draw a circle and show you what all of those are. So you have the center here. This is a radius. From here to here, which is 2 of the radiuses, is a diameter. A chord is something that goes from one end of the circle to the other end, but it doesn't go to the center, so it's not the diameter. So the longest side is the circumference right there. So that is, well, it's not side, but the length. That's the longest, circumference. And on to the final question, but the first question of this paper. What is the value of the digit 3 in the answer 7,300 divided by 10? So let's work that out. That gives us 730. So the value of 3 here is in the tens column, so it's going to be 30. So that's the answer. Hope you enjoyed this video. Go back over any question that you didn't understand. If you like the video, guys, please give it a thumbs up and do share with your friends. And I wish all of you guys the very best in this final paper of your GCSE. Bye for now.